York. I mean, I can't even count the number of professional musicians who have come out of that borough. Najee is one of those Queens natives who has made a big name for himself in the music world. After touring with Chaka Khan for a year, Najee performed on an album by one of Chaka Khan's backup singers, Lisa Morgan, who's no longer one of Chaka Khan's backup singers. And soon thereafter, he was signed to the Hush Production family of artists. Included in that group is Freddie Jackson, Melba Moore, and Melissa Morgan. Now, Najee has toured with Freddie Jackson and most recently has been headlining with Diana Reeves and on a tour that included Phyllis Hyman, Michael Franks, and Hiroshima. He's making strides in contemporary instrumental music, and we're very happy to welcome him back to Video Soul. Najee.
How you doing?
Good to have you, man. I'm doing great, thank you. Last time I saw you, we were both sitting at the Grammys.
That's right.
Matter of fact, you're sitting right in front of me. We were both waiting for our names to be called. At least you had a record out, so you had a chance. I had no shot at all.
That's right. I remember that evening.
That was a lot of fun.
It was, yeah.
Had you been to the Grammys before?
That was my first time.
So what did you think?
Well, I was somewhat honored to have been there, being nominated for the Grammy, so I was quite honored to be there.
Which category were you now?
R&B instrumentalist.
How'd you make out?
Well, of course I didn't win, but
Who won? Who did you lose to?
David Sanborn.
Oh, okay. And how'd you feel about that?
I felt good. I think he deserved it. He's been out there a long time, and he's one of the best among us.
Okay,
so.
All right. Now, he's been out there a long time. He's one of the best, yeah. But do you think that was the reason it was given to him, or was it based on that particular album?
Well, it was a great album.
Yeah.
I think he deserved it.
Okay.
Certainly, I was honored to be there, just being recognized on my first LP, debut LP.
Yeah, that is
so
great.
I felt quite honored to just have the name in the category.
Yeah.
Yes.
With some great people. There's a lot of great saxophonists out there right now.
Oh, yes.
It seems like in the last 3 years or so, we've seen so many successful saxophonists.
That's true.
With you, with Walter, who was on the show earlier, of course, Grover, George Howard, David Sanborn.
That's true.
Man.
Well, I'm glad to see it.
Yeah, oh, I'm sure you are.
I think most of us have been waiting in the wings a long time to be heard, and it's good to see that the audience is responding back to the saxophone.
Why is it the saxophone, though, and not jazz guitars or some other instrument?
Well, my personal belief is that the saxophone has been perhaps the most flexible. It's been able to survive a lot of eras of music. It's been through the jazz, it's been through gospel, and even in classical. Yeah. And it's been a very flexible instrument, I guess because they say it's closest to the human voice.
Yeah.
So it's come through the rock era, R&B.
Yeah.
So straight ahead jazz, of course. So I think it's for a lot of reasons, but it's been able to survive the transitions of music and the different, and it fits the personality of the instrument, the character of the instrument fits into a lot of different musics very well.
Yeah, it really does. You know, there are a lot of things that I hear, hit records, contemporary hits.
That's true.
And you're listening to it, and I'll be very honest with you, a lot of times I get through the first verse or so, I go, that's all right. And then in the middle, they throw that sax solo in there, and go,
grab
oh
your attention.
Yeah, this is hot. You know, right away, it just seems like it gives it an adult feel immediately, or it just, you know what I'm saying, makes it more adult, more mellow, even though it could be something that's up-tempo and jamming. It just...
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great instrument. I wish I could play. I tried it one time. Nothing but spit came out. You know, that was it. How long have you been playing the saxophone?
Well, I started as a teenager in school. I started in clarinet in elementary school at the age of 9. And then later on in high school, I switched to saxophone.
Why?
Well, I always had an interest for the saxophone. My mother was very fond of the sound, so she bought a lot of records with Curtis King and Grover Washington Jr. A lot of people, Junior Walker. She even liked Paul Desmond, who used to play with Dave Brubeck. So I grew up with the sound around me, and I wanted to play when I went to school. However, all the chairs were taken.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to be with the girls at the time.
Right.
Little did I know then. But no, at the time, all the girls were playing clarinet, so it was somewhat of a male ego thing to want to play the saxophone.
Right.
However, all that was open was a clarinet chair. But my teacher, he encouraged me, and he said, if you play clarinet, you can play saxophone because they're very much related. And I found that to be very true. It was an easy transition for me.
Do you play any other instruments?
Well, I play flute, keyboards. Sing a little bit. Not as good as Walter, but I can sing a little.
Do you play any of these other instruments on your records?
Just keyboards and some programming with drum machines and things of that nature.
So do you produce your own stuff?
I co-produce most. This current album that's out, Day by Day, was produced by other producers. I did co-produce one song on there, Gina, and another song, Way of the World. But it's mainly been a collaboration type of thing.
Okay, but the first album, you produced more on the first one than you did on the second?
I had more of a direct personal involvement on that one.
Well, that's kind of unusual. I mean, it seems to me that usually the first album, everyone gets outside producers, and then the second one you take more control.
Well,
why did it work in reverse for you?
Well, for me, it was somewhat of a personal choice. The first album, I collaborated with Charles Elgert, who was a personal friend of mine, and we came together with some material, and it was the material that we had at the time that landed us the record deal through Hush Productions. So from there, then I worked with another producer named Ronnie Song, and he and our chemistry worked very well together. So we went on and produced the material there, and it worked out very well. The second time around, all these people were my personal friends, so I went with them, and we worked out material, and you know, one of the demanding reasons why they had to be involved is that they are producers and they're established, and if they have any material, they had to produce it. So, however, I think on the next album, I'll probably have more hand in the production.
Yeah, okay. Yes. How's the second album doing in comparison to the first one? No, the first one was a monster smash.
Well, the first one had its own momentum. Took a lot longer in sales. However, this one is selling much faster, I think, because people have now locked into an identity as to who I was.
Right.
I was a mystery for a long time on the first album. This one is selling at a much faster rate.
All right, so you've been in jazz all along. I mean, when you were a kid playing clarinet, were you into jazz in junior high school?
As a listener, yes, and I played in a lot of in high school, we had a jazz band in my school, which is where I was I had my first experience playing jazz music, and I was exposed to teachers in the school that were very enthusiastic to help students that were into playing, who wanted to expand beyond what we had at the time. At the time, we had a lot of local bands in my neighborhood, so of course we played things like Kool and the Gang, things that we heard on the radio. However, teachers would pull us aside and say, well, you should listen to some Bird, or you should listen to some Train. You know, and if you want to play this music, this is who set the trends. And that's how I got exposed to jazz.
It must be a lot of teachers in Queens teaching that, because you guys come from all different directions.
That's true.
And, I mean, it just seems like there's so many different types of music that happen.
Well, it's interesting because in the neighborhood, Jamaica, Queens, Count Basie lived there before he died. And so there were a lot of musicians that worked with Count Basie that would work with students on the side that either taught privately or they would, you know, had personal interest in a particular student, and then that student would pull some of the younger ones aside and say, look, why don't you listen to this, why don't you listen to that? And it's almost like a cult development started happening in the neighborhood, and some great players came out of there, such as Tom Brown, Bernard Wright, and a few others that came out of the neighborhood.
That's incredible. Yeah. I'll tell you, so much talent there. That's always amazed me, and you helped explain why now. I understand that more.
Marcus Miller is another one.
Yeah, Marcus Miller. Well, those three names you just they formed a group, actually. What was the name of their group?
Jamaica Boys.
Yeah, the Jamaica Boys.
Right.
Yeah, okay. What other kind of music do you listen to now? Are you strictly a jazz man, or do you stretch out and listen to other?
By no means. I listen to everything pretty much that I like. Different things move me. I just bought the new Take Six, a group from out of Nashville.
Yeah.
That sing a cappella.
Right.
And they're very good at what they do. They remind me a lot of, you know, like the Duke Ellington arrangements, the way he used to voice the saxophones and horns, and they're able to bring that across in just their vocal performance. I also listen to a lot of different things, from Level 42. You know, you might think I'm crazy when I pop things in my car, the things I listen to. Of course, all the current saxophonists, and, you know.
Who do you really like? Who's your favorite saxophonist?
I have a lot of them. Grover Washington is one of my favorite. Gerald Albright is one of my favorite. David Sanborn, Walter Beasley, you know, George Howard.
Yeah.
I think all the current saxophonists that are out now have something really good to say.
Yeah.
You know, and they have their own identities, and they're have a lot to say.
So you admire them and appreciate their music. You don't feel competition from them?
Oh, well, certainly feel competition. But competition, it's not a competition based on animosity.
Yeah.
It's one healthy competition.
Right.
Because it brings the best out in you.
Okay.
And when you listen to one cat that's playing, you say, I need to practice a little more. You know, I mean, he's doing some nice stuff here, and it's really to bring the best out in you. It's never a thing of, oh, he's playing, I don't like what he's doing. I actually admire everything that I've heard so far from the current people.
Grover's going to be on the show later, as you know, and so we're going to come back and want to ask you a couple of questions about Grover Washington Jr. in a couple of minutes. This is Najee with Personality on Video Soul.